Hi friends, today I have a video on the lore for how the Apex games started. This is the origin story for Apex Legends based on official canon. We have to go all the way back to before 2727 for our first incarnation of the Apex games, except it wasn't called the Apex games. It was called the Thunderdome games. The IMC soldiers stationed on Kings Canyon during the time of the conglomerate's experiments would partake in arena combat they dubbed as the Thunderdome. This was all in order to entertain themselves and stave off boredom. The Thunderdome games themselves were often known as a blood sport due to the brutal gladiator-style battles that would often partake there. A 14-year-old Gibralter actually worked in the Thunderdome, along with his boyfriend Nicholas. They were mainly clearing seats, serving at the bar, and other odd jobs like that. The IMC would later withdraw from Kings Canyon in around 2719, spelling the end of the Thunderdome games, and for a while, the location would be left devoid of meaningful human life. Many years later though, with the Syndicate Treaty, the Syndicate would re-establish law and order among the planets of the outer frontier, and rebuild what was once located on Kings Canyon. The Apex games are the Syndicate's big project to help rebuild the Outlands, according to Gibralter. This is where our friend Cuban Blisk comes into the picture. It was Cuban Blisk's idea to revamp the Thunderdome games and turn them into something bigger. Blisk renamed the Bloodsport to the Apex games, named after his band of mercenaries, the Apex Predators. Blisk was the leader of the Apex Predators in the Frontier Wars, but also a veteran of the Thunderdome games. He landed himself a position on the Syndicate as the Apex Games Commissioner after the wars, and because of his time in the Thunderdome games, he was the perfect person to lead the creation of the Apex games. Blisk enlisted Luke Paquette, Wattson's father, to be the lead electrical designer for the Apex games. Initially, it was just to set up the power grid for the games, but the longer Luke Paquette worked on developing the games, the more Blisk kept pushing for new additions to help make the games more fun and exciting for spectators. A lot of the ideas stem from Blisk and the team working on Apex Legends, things like loot bins, computer networks, respawn beacons, and even underwater whirlpools to prevent competitors leaving the games. After designing all of these, Luke thought he was done, but there was one final idea that had to be implemented. You see, with a few early practice competitions, Blisk noticed that competitors would camp out and wait for people to pick off as they wandered by. This meant matches were very long and often very slow, and although that could be interesting, it wouldn't hold an audience interest for very long. So the Syndicate decided it needed a way to make competitors fight. Remember, the Thunderdome games were basically a gladiator's arena and didn't have any kind of technology to force competitors to fight. This meant the team had to come up with new ideas for a solution. Now there were many ideas thrown around, but they all seemed to harm the environment, so couldn't be used. That's when Wattson came up with the closing ring technology, implementing the ring as we know it today. To qualify for the games, prospective legends must go through rounds of trials, testing their skills, with only the elite being able to pass those tests and compete in the Apex games, and obtain the fame and fortune that comes with it. Of course, Blisk, being the Apex Games Commissioner, has a special power where he can give people direct passage into becoming a legend without having to do the qualifiers. He did it for Rampart, he did it for Valkyrie, and he even helped Wattson skip the qualifying games to go straight into the Apex games as a legend. If you didn't know, Blisk also gave Jack Cooper an Apex Predator card, although we're not quite sure if Jack Cooper ever did accept it. Kings Canyon would eventually become the headquarters for the Apex games, and the Syndicate kept the original Thunderdome intact as a tribute to the original arena games. The games have now been running for over 124 seasons in universe, and in case you're wondering how we're only in season 10 in real life, the universe seasons are more frequent than our IRL seasons. Before I finish, there's one thing you need to know about the Apex games though, and this is that all is not what it seems to be. On the outside, the Apex game seems like an entertaining sport, but secretly, it's a multimedia franchise that the Syndicate are controlling and extorting for profit. Crypto and his sister Mila stumbled across this when they found the match-fixing algorithm that was used for gambling hidden deep in the Apex game's systems. Not many people know about this, but one thing is for sure, people will not be happy when they find out. And there is definitely more to come on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed hearing about how the Apex game started. Keep a lookout for some great lore videos I've got coming in the next few weeks. For now though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.